This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it, man, I know it, I know.
So for those of you that don't know the story, I'm going to kind of like give a little bit of the backstory. GG signs Dan Bilzerian, right, as a sponsored pro representative/representative. That causes an uproar from the community, basically saying this is not someone we want to represent poker, and then especially the women's side fight strongly against this, right? On March the 9th, Vanessa tweets out a tweet that says, effectively, she ends up getting canned from her GG affiliate deal, right? Rachel, who is a part of GG, shoots her a DM and says, hey, I know you're expecting this. I need to close your affiliate deal, terminated our partnership. And then she goes on to say all these other things like, women really like working here. It's a shame that you can't see this. To call this misogynistic is completely inaccurate. I'm a mom and I've been doing this for a while, et cetera, et cetera. Vanessa pretty much claps back at her and says, you can do better. You recruited a man who clearly abused women. Yeah, I thought she was graded. Like, if I had to grade her performance in that situation, it was like pretty bad. Like, she could have closed the account and said like, hey, we were, it's unfortunate that we were once so close and we've fallen apart.
It's an insane email, man. The corporate version of that email is, hello, Vanessa. I regret to inform you we're going to have to terminate your account in light of the recent public spat between GG and yourself. I hope you
it's over.
I wish you the best in the future. Signed, corporate.
Yep, it's true. It's true. Her email was like pretty ridiculous.
It's very difficult as men to put ourselves in the shoes of any marginalized group, but particularly of women. It's just nothing we'll ever relate to. I think that we should try to understand why it's so upsetting to women to see somebody who's a clear misogynist be an ambassador for a major poker brand and company that by and large we all support at a bare minimum with our dollars. So, it's a hard fight in reality for Vanessa and the women of this community, because at the end of the day, when it all boils down to dollars, unfortunately, they just don't matter, right? Every single woman who plays poker at this very moment could absolutely remove their liquidity from the pool, stop playing altogether, and nobody would even notice on the stat sheet. They're just such a small fraction of the community, and that's tragic, right? Like they maybe make up 3% of the overall liquidity pool. And it might even be slightly less. Like they may physically make up 3% of people, but monetarily speaking, they may actually represent less.
I think that's a very slippery slope, though. That argument is one where it's like, if we just completely neglect every single minority group because of dollars, like it's a very slippery slope and causes like very dangerous ramifications. So you think like even outside of poker, if we were to do that and just say like, oh, black people don't matter, or minorities don't matter, women don't matter, and it's like if we remove that. I know, and I'm not saying you're saying that. That's why I'm saying it's a slippery slope. Like it's like you're 1 degree away from that, where it's like if we remove this minority, then it doesn't matter. So let's not care.
Well, you need to do root cause analysis, right? And this is the challenge with problems of this magnitude, is that this isn't necessarily a marginalization issue. Like this isn't necessarily a marginalized group being dismissed. It's more so a capitalistic, incentive-laden problem, right? If we were able to harm GG's business, monetarily speaking, by empowering women, then these practices and behaviors would be disincentivized. But the actual opposite occurs, right? Financially speaking, they're heavily incentivized to rally behind Dan Bilzerian, to be the outrageous company that, leans slightly into misogyny, leans slightly into party boy behavior, leans slightly into boys being boys, leans slightly into bro culture. And the reason why they're incentivized to do that is because 97+% of poker players are male. And a huge, simple majority of that are shallow males who fall for this type of marketing.
So your argument is one that it's not necessarily GG's fault, it's our fault.
Partially. I think basically the blame is more widespread than just being targeted at what we perceive to be a bad actor. I don't want to excuse GG at all. So I want to make it abundantly clear that what they're doing is incredibly wrong. Isn't even the right word, right? It lacks virtue. It lacks any level of integrity, and it lacks consideration and thoughtfulness as far as growth goes beyond the here and now, right? It's very short-sighted, and it's very much in line with money grabbing, but we incentivize that as a community as a whole. So it's like to think that somehow the community is going to not talk with their dollars, but then somehow rally behind a social cause is just a little bit wishful thinking, I think. And that's not saying that we shouldn't. It's just saying that we have a large community-wide issue when it comes to getting out of the self-centered mindset of every man for himself, go collect every dollar you can.
As a response to the Daniel Bilzerian controversy, Daniel Bilzerian, of course, ends up calling Vanessa Kade a hoe, right, on Twitter, which was, I mean, I don't even know what to say, because it's one of those things where it's like if I hired somebody and like they called somebody a hoe on Twitter immediately, like I don't even know how, like, what do I do?
But this is the
Like,
thing. There is no
I
bad
just fire
publicity.
them.
No, there's no bad publicity in this community, right? Nobody gives a shit. And that's unfortunate. But whenever your community is so hardcore one way, you get away with that type of stuff, right? When we have a lack of female representation in this community, they are disenfranchised, right? Like they become very marginalized in this community because they are such a vast minority that their voice goes unheard. And we need more advocates for the unheard in this population for sure. But it's also a slippery slope from that standpoint, right? It's so hard not to be accused of white knighting whenever you are trying to basically point out the egregious actions that have been taking place for 30 plus years in this industry. You know, by and large, it's a really difficult thing because you don't change a culture overnight, obviously. And these isolated incidents don't move the needle enough and don't rally enough support amongst the collective that obviously are on Vanessa's side. And that sucks because, like, in her shoes, you feel so unseen and so almost like forgotten to some degree when you're on the right side of an argument, the clear right side, so egregiously clear that people who agree with your side don't say anything, right? That becomes a really shitty feeling, and it stops you from speaking out in the future.
Let's start with Davia's interviews because, you know, we are talking about women standing up. She was hired for GG for community outreach and development.
So she's looking out for number one. She is now in charge of putting out this fire and being the female face that says this place is friendly to us. It's obviously bullshit. She's moving the goalpost by now saying like, oh, well, forget about this Bilzerian thing over here. We have the best software on the market, right? Here are our competitive advantages that make you want to play GG. It's like, yeah, that's true, which is why men aren't going to stop playing there. But that doesn't sell with women who are outraged at the fact that you are hiring a guy who threw a porn star off a roof and shattered her ankle, right? Like, and that, you know, that's a bit of a
anecdotal
you're trying to say, example, but it's just like, you know, that's casual behavior for Blitz.
And further, Matt Glantz put out a tweet saying, Vanessa should have been a politician. She was getting paid from GG while this was all going on. The argument from Vanessa is that this is work she did 2 years ago in an affiliate deal.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that don't understand how affiliate deals work, Vanessa pretty much signs up her friends, signs up people to this website and says like, hey, like, I work for them, etc. I'm an affiliate. So they sign up under her and she gets a small percentage of the rake. This was 2 years ago, right? Her argument is that this work has already been completed and it was 2 years ago and she hasn't been pushing her affiliate deal anymore. So
right, she's just collecting the work previous signups.
Right, from 2 years ago that she's no longer doing anymore. Yeah. But if she just terminates the deal on her own, she's just giving them free money.
Sure. There's no case to be made for the fact that she's getting paid by the company that she's rallying against, other than she should be telling all of those affiliates to protest the site. And if they choose not to, then she should be compensated for them not protesting, right? But it's insane for her to add money to the pockets or line the pockets of said company further instead of her own, just to, get the point across. Because nobody would know that she cut that deal. Right? She's just cutting off her nose to spite her face at that point, which is really silly. Now, should she go to every single person that she had sign up and say, hey, this is my new stance on the company. They're bad actors. Pull your money and pull your account immediately? Absolutely. Should she terminate the deal?
Agreed.
I don't think so. It seems silly.
Agreed.
Right? And again, we're making these leaps of logic where it's like, if she's being paid by said company, then she's a hypocrite for protesting said company. And that's bullshit. It's like things change. Things change rapidly. Dan Bilzerian was not a representative of the company when she was an affiliate for GG. The fact that she's being paid retroactively isn't a demonstration of allegiance, right?
Isn't this, I feel like this problem is so bad because it's like, when PokerStars does something and increases the rake and like screws over, 5% of the population that plays online, nobody cares because it's not part of their problem. When GG screws over these women, or at least like marginalizes them, most of the community, like it doesn't impact them, so nobody cares. When if some live tournament does something and changes the rules, it's like, oh, it doesn't impact that many people, so nobody cares, and move on. So it's like, how many things have to happen that don't impact you until you start saying like, hey, maybe we should just like all like care about each other's problems here, because like at the end of the day, we all interact with one another for many, 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 many years, right?